right, fight fans, UFC Fight Night Allen versus Curtis 2 is this weekend, and we're so close to UFC 300. We have sat through a number of really shitty fight night events just to get to 300, and this is the last one. We're getting right there at the end, and this might be one of the worst of the bunch looking at the card from top to bottom. Good main event, shit co-main for a co-main. I'm fine with it being on an Apex main card, but I don't want it as a co-main. I don't know what we're doing with that. And then terrible feature fights as well. So overall, dog shit card that we got coming in here, but it's the last one that we have until we get a guaranteed good card in UFC 300. So I can't wait. I hope you guys can't wait. We're gonna get there. Trust me, we're gonna get there, and we're gonna do it together. Here are my predictions. I am 83-53 on the year. I'm gonna give you the detailed predictions starting from the bottom of the card, working all the way up. Letting you know who I think's going to win, how I think they're going to win. Hopefully I can stay about 500 on this card because I don't know what the hell's going to happen because these are just a bunch of crap fighters. So, yeah, I mean, having, 3 ranked opponents is just not good enough for these fight nights, man. I'm getting really sick of it, but you know what? One more until 300. Hopefully in quarter 2 they start to pick up. It looks like a couple of the other fight nights are going to be a little bit better. I know that Kopp versus Nicolau is going to be a really good main event. The Saudi card is going to be a really good card top to bottom. St. Louis has a kind of shit main event with the fat heavyweights again, but it's Derek Lewis. I always enjoy having Derek Lewis in the octagon unless Shelton Almeida is riding him the whole time. But we're going to, again, go through the entire card. I'm starting with the first fight, so let's see if I can keep the record rolling here. The first fight on the card, it's Nora Connolly versus Melissa Mullins. So I have a picture of the two of them here. Really, really low-level fight. I mean, this fight is going to be boring. It's going to be slow. It's going to be pitter-pattery. There's not going to be any talent, any skill in this whole fight. I'm sick of it. I don't want to see it. Who cares about what happens in this fight? I'm going with Nora Connolly. I think it stays on the feet. I think she's going to just outpoint Mullins. I really don't care. You could flip a coin as well. I know in Guru's video he's flipping a mayo can, the piggy, but no, he is one of my favorite content creators, so I just like busting his balls, even though he will never see this. But yeah, I'm going Connolly. I'm just going to pick a crazy underdog so that way I can separate myself for predictions if it wins. I don't think anyone gives a shit about what happens in this fight, and I'm moving on to the next one. We're going Connolly by unanimous decision. Dylan Budka versus Cesar Almeida by TKO in round 1. I think that Cesar Almeida against a striker has a chance to do well. He's a good kickboxer. He did all right on the Contender Series. His striking got better as the fight moved on. He beat Alex Pereira in kickboxing, which was really cool. But he's 36. He has 0 takedown defense. And Dylan Budka, I was just looking up some of his credentials, and very credentialed, talented athlete, really, really good wrestler. He's strong. He's athletic. He looks like an absolute murderer. I think he's going to be pretty good. I think he's getting better and better every time he gets in the octagon, too. I'm going to go him to win this fight by TKO in the first round. I think he's just going to get the takedown, get into full mount, land some ground and pound, and get a TKO by the end of the first round in this fight. I actually have it written that he could transition, get the back, and get a choke here. But as I'm looking at it, I am going to change. I think he's going to land some really vicious ground and pound, elbows, fists, and I just think Cesar Almeida is going to get stopped because he's not intelligently defending and doesn't show a path to get back up. In the future, I'd like to see Cesar Almeida versus a striker so we can watch a relatively entertaining fight, but that's not what we got here. We're getting a fight where he's just going to get taken down and ground and pounded. That's what's going to happen. Dylan Budka, round 1, ground and pound, KO, TKO. Keep an eye on this kid, though, because I think he could be a problem going forward. Gene Matsumoto versus Dan Argueta by round 2 submission. I think that Matsumoto has great low kicks, really good pressure. He looked good in the Contender Series. He's violent. But then you look at his history as well. He has great submissions, transitions really well. He's good BJJ. And he mixes that with striking, so he's not just like a Ryan Hall soy boy. I do think Argueta is a very strong fighter. He is good at holding top position, but it's against fighters that don't really have the best of submissions. He does get out-grappled by guys like Miles Johns, but Miles Johns is also a very physically imposing guy. I just think when Argueta throws, he doesn't land much damage with those punches and those shots, and I can see him just shooting a really bad takedown after getting his legs chewed up by Matsumoto. Matsumoto's leg kicks are really, really good. They look great in the Contender Series. I think he's going to get his legs chewed up, get annoyed with it, get some punches landed on his face as he's just walking forward into the punches, try and shoot a takedown, get caught in a bad takedown, and might either get guillotined or transitioned into like a knee bar. I think that there's going to be a submission from the back here from Matsumoto, maybe a triangle. But I think Matsumoto is going to get a round 2 submission after beating up the legs and landing some good punches in the first round. We have Piera Rodriguez versus Cynthia Calvillo here. Another 2 good pictures of these very, very talented fighters. I am just kidding. They suck. Again, who cares about this? Calvillo's lost a few close decisions. Lupe Godinez, Nina Nunes, both very toss-up fights. She could have won them, but she's 36. She has literally lost every time she has fought tough competition. Now, the key is Piera Rodriguez also absolutely sucks. This is a low-level MMA fight. I never want to see it, but here we go. I think it's going to be terrible. Again, really boring fight. You can flip a coin here. I'm going Rodriguez to win a 29-28 decision just by the fact that she's younger and hopefully improving each time she gets in the octagon. She is still 31, but I think Calvillo is just in there for paychecks, and I think she might get out-grappled for a little bit, and I think that there's just going to be enough air punches landed from Piera Rodriguez to make the judges think that she won. So, could go either way. I'm going Piera Rodriguez. Victor Hugo versus Alatangle Lee. I'm never going to be able to pronounce his name right. I think Victor Hugo is going to win a 30-27 dominant decision. I do think he has great finishing potential. But I think Alatangle Lee, I think that whatever his name is going to really struggle with landing on Victor Hugo. I think Hugo is going to keep the range, landing really good kicks to the body, to the legs. I don't think he's going to go up high with the kicks much. He's going to use his jabs, and then he's going to get some really good work done in the clinch. I think he's a good grappler. I think he's a better grappler than Alatangle Lee. And I think he's going to land some good damage. I know Alatangle Lee misses a lot of his punches, and I think he's really going to struggle to get into the boxing range anyway. So I just think you're going to see that Victor Hugo is going to land a lot more, going to land a lot more viciously, and I think he's going to get a couple of takedowns and some control time. So I think he's going to very clearly win this fight 30-27. I actually think Victor Hugo is a really good prospect, so I'm going to keep an eye on him going forward. I think he's going to win this fight pretty easily. Norma Dumont versus Germaine de Randamie. Norma Dumont's going to win this fight because she's going to be more active and have better grappling. She's going to win some exchanges up against the clinch. The UFC wants her to win as well. Germaine de Randamie hasn't fought in 3.5 years. She's literally coming back because Nunes is gone. And even if it's against good competition, right? There's like Raquel Pennington, who's the champion right now, but everyone forgets she's the champion because they just put on the worst fight of all time. She's lost to Nunes. Nunes is actually good competition, but she's also fought some fighters that people consider good competition, but they're not that good. So I'm going to go Norma to win a 29-28 unanimous decision. She's going to win the first 2 rounds with activity, good grappling, and Germaine de Randamie is going to look gun-shy for a while. She's going to feel a little bit more comfortable once she realizes that she literally can't be hurt in this fight. And then she's going to win the last round, barely on damage. But Norma Dumont's going to win this fight 29-28 UD, maybe 30-27, but I'm going to go 29-28 because these fights are always just super close because of how low level they are. Yeah. Alex Morono is going to beat Court McGee by a 30-27 UD. I think just Morono's always working. He throws a ton of volume. Not really crazy power, but I think the volume is going to be there to beat Court McGee, and I don't think either of these guys can actually put each other out. I don't like the finishing ability of either of these guys, and just having great cardio, throwing a lot of volume is going to win you a fight in this exchange unless you get wrestled. I don't think Court McGee is going to be able to wrestle Alex Morono. He might be able to get some clinch work in. He might be able to hold him up against the fence a little bit, but as we're seeing the way these decisions are going, if you hold up against the fence and do nothing with it, you're not winning decisions, which is the right way to score. Scoring should be done based off of damage, and I think it will be by Morono landing jabs, good check hooks, good counter shots. I don't think many kicks are going to be thrown by either guy in this fight. I think it's really just going to be boxing based off of volume, and I'm going to go with Morono because of the cardio, and I just think he is an overall better fighter. He's always in the gym, too. That's the other thing I want to talk about. He's a coach. He is more a coach than a fighter. But I think he saw a matchup here in Court McGee where he can win and get a win bonus, so he took the fight. And I think he's going to go in there because he's always coaching. He's always in the gym with his team. I think he's going to win this fight 30-27 UD just based off of sheer volume and peppering Court McGee. You might see Court McGee retire after this fight. Charlie Campbell's going to knock out Trevor Peek in round 2. I have faded Trevor Peek almost every single fight just because I don't think he's that talented, but he is fun to watch. Like, he goes into the fire, throws crazy, he has no technique, but he's just like a, what do they call him? Like, behind the bar fighter. He goes out in the back and just fights people just because he likes to fight. I think it's going to be a standing TKO. I think Trevor Peek has a great chin, but I think Charlie Campbell's boxing is very, very slick. I can see Charlie Campbell getting wobbled in the first round and Trevor Peek just going in for a finish and Campbell being able to move his head, still being within it, landing good counter shots, keeping Trevor Peek off of him. But I think the technique is really going to start to show at the end of round 1 and in round 2. I think Charlie Campbell's going to get into boxing range, land great body shots, go up to the head, and just start wobbling Trevor Peek and get a standing TKO. I think that Trevor Peek's going to be up against the fence and Charlie Campbell's not going to be able to put him down, not because he's not landing powerful, good shots, but because that Trevor Peek has such a good chin. I think if Charlie Campbell's smart, he'll work in the body a lot and exhaust Trevor Peek, and that's when he's going to start winning with these boxing combinations, getting a lot of wobbles, and just winning with a standing TKO in round 2. So I actually like Charlie Campbell a lot as well. I think he's a pretty good fighter. I'd like to see how he's going to hold up against a grappler going forward, though. So he's going to get a round 2 TKO here. Let's see what he can do after that. Walter Walker, don't even know if I'm saying that right, is against Luka Bursky by round 1 KO. Walter Walker's Johnny Walker's older brother. He looks like an absolute scary dude. He fights kind of similar, but he's bigger, more powerful. I'm going to assume he has a better chin because almost everyone has a better chin than Johnny Walker unless your name is Phil Haas. He's an undefeated monster fighting an out-of-shape trash can heavyweight. We have a picture here of Luka Bursky in the corner, just an out-of-shape heavyweight dude. Walker's going to win this fight with a crazy KO in the first 3 minutes. I think you're going to see like a spinning back fist followed up by a kick, some vicious ground and pound, and it's just going to be a crazy knockout. I like Walter Walker. I'm interested to see what happens. The in-shape heavyweights are always going to beat the out-of-shape heavyweights because that's just how it's been going, and that's how it probably should go. So get in shape, Luka Bursky. I know you got robbed by Martin Boudet, but you need to get in shape because you're never going to win a fight against a guy like Walter Walker if you don't. And I just don't think the clinch work's going to be enough to get it done. I think Walker's going to get the KO in the first round. Something crazy, like a spinning back fist or maybe like some kind of heel kick or wheel kick or something like that. Ignacio Bahamondes, one of the more overrated fighters against Christos Giagos. I think he's going to get the fight done, get the win by a round 3 KO. I think he's going to work his range really well. Now, I do think Ignacio is going to improve since we last saw him. He's 26 years old. He is getting a little bit better each time, but the way he was hyped up is like he's going to be this absolute monster in the division. He's just tall and lanky and lands good kicks. Like I don't think he has the durability or the toughness to last in there against some of the really good contenders at lightweight. But he's going to be very rangy. He's going to use the leg kicks. He's going to use body kicks. And eventually, later in the fight, that's going to open up head kicks. You are going to see him try and throw that spinning wheel kick. I don't think it's going to land. I think that Giagos is preparing for it. But I think Giagos is going to have a really tough time getting in range, just given how lanky and long Bahamondes really is. So it's going to start frustrating him. He's going to start pushing Bahamondes up against the cage, and that's where I think he's going to win some minutes. But ultimately, I think he's going to tire himself out, and Bahamondes is going to land a flash knockout in round 3. Outside of the knockout, I do think this is going to be a boring pitter-pat fight, where it's pitter-pat kicks from Bahamondes and clinch work from Giagos, ending with a violent knockout from Bahamondes. So outside of the knockout, this is going to be a shit fight. Yeah, I think that's how it's going to go. Round 3, too. I don't think this is coming in the early rounds. I think it's going to be a round 3. Chepe Mariscal versus Morgan Charriere. I don't know why this fight's on the main card. It is a lower-level bantamweight fight. Charriere is overrated. He can land some good kicks, but he's really not that good. Chepe Mariscal, also a little bit overrated. Was going to lose to Jack Jenkins, except for a fluke injury. Now, I think Chepe is going to work the clinch really well, landing knees, landing elbows, and do some really good visible damage, cutting open Morgan Charriere with some of these elbows, and that's going to look very good for the judges. I do think this is going to be a close fight. It's going to be a sneaky scrap. Now, I preface saying I don't know why it's on the main card, because these guys just don't have the star level or the talent to be on a main card. But the UFC's slinging shit in the Apex anyway, so they're expecting you not to watch. They're expecting you to wait and buy the pay-per-view on 300. But here I am doing this prediction video because I'm going to keep my good picks rolling and hopefully win you guys some money. So I think it's going to be a close fight, sneaky scrap. It's going to be a split that can go either way. I really see no one knowing how to score this fight, where Morgan Charrier's winning the fight in range, and then once it gets close, Chepe's landing those elbows that are doing serious damage, landing the knees that are doing serious damage. 29-28 split from Chepe Mariscal, but I think it can go either way. I don't think you're going to be able to call this a robbery at the end of the fight. I think people overuse the word robbery. I think this is going to be one of those classics, kind of like Strickland Duplessis, where I'm a massive Strickland fan. I can see how Duplessis won the fight. I gave it a Strickland, but it really is a coin toss. If you had it 2-2 going into 5, Strickland should have won the fight. But if you had it 3-1 DDP, then it's 3-2 DDP wins the fight. So I think it's going to be a similar situation here with Chepe Mariscal and Morgan Charrier. I'm going to go with Chepe to win by 29-28 decision. I like the clinch work that he can do a lot better than the work that Morgan Charrier is going to do at range. Alex Hernandez versus Damon Jackson via round 1 TKO. Damon Jackson is literally a soy boy. He's weak. He has no striking. And he does have some good grappling. I'll give him that. But I think that Alex Hernandez is a tough dude to take down early in the fight. And if he doesn't take him down, he's going to get knocked out. I think Hernandez has good power, but he does have a questionable gas tank, especially as you get to the late round 2. Now, I get Billy Quarantillo can put a pace on literally anybody, but I like Alex Hernandez's ability to finish this fight with straight 1-2s down the pipe, throwing volume, working the body, and I don't think Damon Jackson's able to knock out Hernandez as he goes in there. His best chance is shooting takedown, but I think Alex Hernandez is pretty good at being able to get the underhooks and push off from people that aren't as strong at getting takedowns. Damon Jackson's takedowns are very slick. They're more jiu-jitsu style, where I think Hernandez can be more exposable to like the wrestling kind of takedown. So I just don't think that Damon Jackson's going to be able to get those takedowns unless it's round 2 and Hernandez gassed out. Now, if it gets to late round 2, I think that a good live bet on Damon Jackson's going to happen here. I think he can end up winning the fight with grappling just by the sheer exhaustion of Alex Hernandez. But the way I'm going is Alex Hernandez to win this fight with a round 1 TKO. I think he throws a 1-2 down the punch or down the pipe, really, really hurts Damon Jackson, and ultimately finishes with relentless finishing power and volume against the cage. Ultimately, Damon Jackson's going to get beat up, fall to the ground, and just take the ground and pound and lose. Don't know why this is a co-main. I'm okay with it being on the main card as like an opener for an Apex fight, but there's no way it should be a co-main, dude. Co-main's got to be more ranked fighters. It's got to be higher level fighters. I don't get what the UFC is doing here. You got Alex Hernandez versus literally a bottle of soy sauce because Damon Jackson's literally soft as baby shit. So the main event, an actual good fight. I think this is really a good fight here. I would like to see it be someone better than Chris Curtis, but again, it's a short notice fight. Chris Curtis stood up. He took the fight, and I do think it's a trickier fight for Brendan Allen. I think somebody that's not easily taken down is a very, very difficult fight for Brendan Allen because his grappling's so good. But his striking has got so much better. The straight punches are there. The jabs are there. The low kicks are there. And that's how I think he's going to beat Chris Curtis. I don't think he's going to get in the pocket and box with him because that's when Curtis is going to land those great body shots, land those powerful left hands. And I'm going to go with Brendan Allen to win this fight by standing rear naked choke in round 3. I don't think he's going to be able to actually get Curtis to the ground, or if he does, it's going to be very few and far between where Curtis is not staying on the ground. But I do see him getting in the clinch range, landing some really good clinch work. Now, Curtis will do some dirty boxing in that range. Absolutely expect him to throw the uppercuts and punches over the guard. But I think that the tie plume from Brendan Allen's going to be really good. I think he's going to land some elbows there and ultimately transition to the back, spend some time on Chris Curtis's back, and end up getting that choke in round 3. I really see standing rear naked choke all over this. And when it's a striking battle, when they're both on the feet, I think Allen is going to do a really good job understanding that he can't box with Chris Curtis. It has to be a little bit more of a mixed martial arts fight, throwing the low kicks, throwing the kicks to the body again, landing jabs, landing body jabs, but staying out of range. Use your length, use your size to win this fight. Don't get in the pocket with Curtis. That's the only way you're losing this fight. So I think Allen's going to get it done. Standing rear naked choke, doing some good work in the clinch, but ultimately does get that choke while he's sitting on Chris Curtis's back, and Chris Curtis is legs straight out against the fence. So after the fight, I'm going to tell Brendan Allen who to call out. I think you call out Izzy because I think he's a very tough matchup for Izzy. Ultimately, as much as I kind of don't like Izzy, like I'm not like Lucas Tracy and MMA Guru and everyone else hate on Izzy. I just think he's a weird dude and he's overhyped and he gets crazy privilege, so that's what makes me hate him. I think he calls out Izzy, even though I do think Izzy wins. I think it's a good call out and a tough fight for Izzy. I think he can call out Cannonier because I don't think anyone's begging to fight Cannonier because it's not a money fight, but it's a way for Brendan Allen to get in those rankings. And I don't think the UFC's giving Cannonier a title shot anytime soon. Or he can call out Nasruddin Imavov. I think that could be a good matchup for him as well. So those are three really good callouts that can get him up in the rankings. Now, Imavov is a step down. I think he's one ranking spot below Brendan Allen, but that's a really good fight to get you a guaranteed like top 5, possibly title eliminator fight. So I don't want him to call out Strickland because he's already lost to Strickland. And in my opinion, you'll see a video coming out later this week. Strickland should be fighting DDP. It shouldn't be Izzy. Izzy doesn't get these infinite title rematches, even after he loses. So it should be Strickland, but you know how the UFC is sometimes. I don't know why they wouldn't give their biggest star at middleweight the title fight, but that's going to all come down in a later video for you. This is what I'm going with for the pick. Rear naked choke, Brendan Allen in round 3. I have been terrible with main events this year. I think I'm like 3-7 on main events, but I'm 83-53 in overall picks. So let's hope I can get this one right. So thanks for joining. Please remember to like and subscribe. Stay tuned in for more videos coming later this week. And yeah, those are the picks. Have a good one, guys.